Hello, I'm Glenn Brooks. I'm just really enthusiastic today to join all my friends, all the people that have I've reached through the years through SaabNet, which is such a wonderful, exceptional platform of connection and community for for you Saab folks, for you Saab enthusiasts. And for the last 26 years, I've driven Saabs. I love the car. I've been puzzled sometimes why things haven't worked. And what I've done over the last 26 years, I've put together a team of people from around the country. I've shared this journey with Scott. We've done different features. One of my favorite people who's guided me and actually did save my life, because I called Walter Wong probably 15 years ago, and I told him about a sound I was having in my Saab. Walter, I consider Walter a Jedi master of Saab mechanics. So I called the Jedi Master, and he explained to me what was wrong and that I should get off the highway and have this fixed, or the car could break down. He was correct. I started calling Walter probably 16 years ago when I ran into dilemmas, because now he calls his business the right solution, right? He never missed, not once. Anytime I've called Walter, he's been so right on. So if you want to Saab or you're curious, you're in the right place. If you're interested in this, in Mark Twain's quote, you're also in the right place, which is true success is turning one's vocation into one's vacation. I'm known internationally as the man that gets paid to go on vacation. I've worked with the Mercedes-Benz Club, but my heart, my deepest soul is into Saab. So I want to welcome Scott Patterson, the owner and founder of SaabNet, and just say that it's been a deep friendship and an appreciation. And Scott, I really appreciate obviously what you do. I refer people all the time to SaabNet, both for the integrity of the community and because the owners of who sell Saabs are they're so forthcoming and honest. And I meet a lot of new friends. And funny enough, I got to plug Walter because over this last week I met a master Saab mechanic in Rhode Island. I met another master Saab mechanic who's going to come on that sells Saab parts. Both these gentlemen referred people to Walter when their clients moved to LA, by the way. And then, and also all the wonderful people, by the way, another group of people I've referred from across the country that are selling Saabs, when they've told me the story, I refer them to Walter because they've given up on the car. And Walter, in each case, provided the right solution. So, Scott, I just want to tell you, it's an honor being with you and Walter today.
Hey, Glenn, thanks so much. I've really appreciated the shows that we've done and shared on SaabNet over the years. It's really wonderful to allow the Saab community to hear Saab master mechanics talk about their experiences. And I agree, we're in for a real treat today having Walter on the show, because he is, like you said, a Jedi master in, Jedi master Saab master technician. And I've known he's supported SaabNet. He's one of my, if not the longest supporter of sponsor of the Saabnet.com website. And I've spoken to him on the phone many times, and his enthusiasm actually brings up even my enthusiasm more for Saab cars. Yes.
You know, funny enough, last night in preparing for the 6-part series, which I have people excited about all around the country, not just Saab people, because Walter's lessons are beyond the Saab. His lessons about doing business revealed themselves to me through the years. There's not one time I called Walter, which has been many times, that he didn't serve me from the highest place of passion, wisdom, and caring. I mean, this isn't a guy that's out to lunch and he kind of does the car. You really feel, and it comes across in his business philosophy. Just like last night, I'll give you an example. When he had Walter on any second, after he changes oil, he high pressure air, he cleans the system with this high pressured air system. He makes sure that everything's clean. You couldn't go to Walter and have Walter not give you a full examination. And the integrity that's there is the very thing. And Walter's mission, by the way, is to keep these cars going up to around 300,000 miles, which there's many cars in his stall that go 300,000 miles. And what's kind of sad to me is I hear a lot of stories of people losing their Saab. I lost 3. And they were all due to basically seizing problems. I mean, the last one I lost was an Arrow. It was a beautiful car. I went to the mechanic, gorgeous car. And it had seized 50 miles from his shop after I left it there 2 months. So without further ado, Walter, I want to welcome you wholeheartedly. I want to thank you for all your wonderful, passion-filled feedback, your guidance, and your specific recommendations, which, as an example, a young gentleman came to get a Saab here at my house. My Saab, I'm selling it because I'm going to get a 9.3 2005, which I'll be sharing the whole journey of. He's 6'7", Scott. He couldn't fit in my Saab. Who do you think would know the 7 Saabs the 6'7" person could fit into?
Walter. Yeah, the master.
Yeah. He would win Saab Jeopardy like every week. Bang. Walter again buzzes in. Walter, welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
Well, I guess, boy, I think we should say that, Walter, to the audience, you've been fixing cars and working on cars since age 12. You do this in Argentina. You work with Saab master mechanics all around the world. Your business philosophy is so inspiring. Say something, introduce yourself to the audience. What's a story that you'd want to share that would really introduce people to you and your business philosophy?
Well, the basic things about the business philosophy is very simple. Is to treat everyone how I want to be treated. I have no idea about computers. I have no idea about many things. And I need to trust the people. So if you own a car or you own a Saab, you're going to take it to us. I should give you the best advice. And if it's beyond my limits, I should tell you upfront, you know what? I don't know, let's investigate, let's see about that. Not about keep guessing on that. Because remember, one of the basic rules, whatever your mechanic gets, you have to pay for that. That's one of the first things on that. What about the history? All my life, since having a kid, I always want to be a mechanic. I've been the only child of my family. And they do not want to have a mechanic guy on the family. They want me to be, engineer, mechanic. No, mechanic, grease monkey, mechanic. So I start tinkering with things by around, when I've been 8 years old, I just fixed a generator on my grandparents' place. So they stopped using the candles for a week. And the generator helped. So that basically to clean the spark plug and move the system, just with common sense, but I didn't have no one to guide me on that. By intuition, by love, by passion. That's it. Then the next step, by about 12, I have paying customers, yes. Could you imagine people, my friends' parents, and they trust me and they pay me to fix the brakes, to fix the carburetor, to fix the distributor, to start doing some kind of things, and I've been 12 years old. Sometimes when I have 2 or 3 pieces missed, or I cannot see where it goes, they stay until about 2 or 3 in the morning, but I need to finish it. I couldn't go home or go to bed without finish the work because I could not rest. So that's the kind of thing that teach me to know my limitations. It means I'm not a kamikaze anymore, doing everything or whatever I think, oh yes, I can do it. No. Everything has a limit and I need to understand my limits. That's the best way to live happy. Do you have another question or something else?
I got a lot of questions.
Tell me.
I think the people, yesterday I went to the gasoline station, Walter and Scott, and the service guy was going to pump my gas. I don't know if they pump gas in California, but they pump gas here in Massachusetts. He comes up to the car and he goes, the gas service person says to me, I was just reading an article that the smartest people drive Saabs, and I responded, that's true. And he went on to tell me he's saving for a Saab. And this is so a percentage of my days, and I want to say every time I get my Saab, I'm so happy. I love this car so much. It's hard to explain why that's so. And other people see my car and they say, oh, Saabs are a lot of trouble. So I guess my first question, I'm so eager to get some of Scott's feedback, is like my daughter lives in LA. I want to introduce you to her. She has a Prius right now. And she says, Dad, I love Saabs, but I'm concerned it's going to break down. So I guess the first thing I want to take on is, to a man that treats cars up to 300,000 miles and over, that's a misperception. That's not. How would you respond to that? The fact Saabs break down. What's your response?
Oh, to me?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Walter.
Okay. So The most important thing is the basic, high quality oil. Not the most expensive, is the highest quality, because if you're going to use racing oil on your typical Saab, that's very expensive. That's not the best that you need. In my case, on the typical Saab I use in California, Los Angeles, with this kind of weather, Castrol GTX 20W50, change the oil every 3,000 miles, check the filters, use premium gas, 91 octane. In my preference, it's about Chevron with Techron. And start with every oil change every 3,000 miles, or cars with a synthetic oil 5,000 to 7,000 miles, mobile one. And in California, we use 15W50 because basically sub engines do not have electronic components that work with the oil. Those are the basic engines, very basic, strong engines. With every oil change, you must ask your mechanic, your technician, or if you do it by yourself, start checking the car like you are going to make a trip. So it means start from the back, be sure muffler hangers are tight, be sure suspension components are okay. Do not need to be perfect. Because if we're looking for perfection on a Saab, it's not going to be too smart money talking about. That we need to do is to have a very good, reliable transportation car, and that's my target. Of course, I have customers when they have almost perfect cars, and they put a lot of money on that because, well, that's the way. How do they want to do? The kind of things that we always goes from the heart. The challenge, the personal challenge, is to keep a car in very bad condition, and many times the customer or the car owner, they think, 3,000 more miles. That's the only thing that I want. To start saving or something like that, and that's already more than a year ago. So that's the kind of thing, one step at a time. Same kind of philosophy for the life. Keep checking the cars, check the oil, check the coolant. When you go to the gas station, well, if you have a rear main seal leak on a classic 900 automatic, you're not going to start spending your money there. Just keep checking the fluids. Often it means when you go to the gas station every 300 miles, check the oil and add. Because you are not going to start spending a lot of money on the rear main seal leak. And things like that. Always the plan B. Right here in California, we work on the fan switch, for example, for the classic 900. We start using the one from Volkswagen, 72 Celsius, instead of the 82. Yes, the car runs cooler. Yes, the engine has a lower temperature, and as a consequence, less pressure, and you can keep going with your oil hoses for some more miles. And that's the kind of thing. Ladies, I have customers, ladies, and they love the Saabs.
And why do they love them? What do they love about them?
They love the way that the car is different. They love the way that they say, the way how another people have the perception from the Saab driver. It's something unique. I have my very old cars, 67, the hippie-looking station wagon, and people, they don't know what kind of car is that. I have another one that I go to driving canyons uphill on Sunday mornings, and that's a classic 900 and SPG 88. The car looks very, very stock and goes very quick. So it's nice to have that feeling, driving quick, passing another kind of very expensive cars, and they don't know what to do. Of course, I have the radio detector. So that's the kind of things about Saab. So basically on everything goes to, number one, common sense. Number two, understand how far you can push your car. That's it. When you're going uphill, driving nice and easy, let the rental car to pass you. Once it's flat, everything, you can make a long distance trip without any problem. Scott, tell me. Yes?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that the perception that Saabs break down often is not accurate. I think that, I mean, these are cars. I mean, these are very special cars to us, and Saab owners are very loyal to the Saab brand because they are such fantastic cars. But they are cars, and cars break down. In fact, on the Saabnet.com site, we have a bulletin board for each model of Saab, and one thing that I have printed at the bottom of every page is that this is a troubleshooting forum. People come here occasionally if they have a problem with their car to seek help or to look for solutions. So obviously, the postings that come on the site are going to be about, I'm having this difficulty, how, can somebody help me? That doesn't mean that all Saab owners are having difficulty with their cars. It just means that this one person out of many Saab owners is here with a typical car problem. There are some problems that are particular to Saabs that we know about and we can look for. But we also have a discussion on the site that is just friendly banter as well. But the point is that these are cars and they have problems just like other cars have problems. And actually, I feel that the cost to repair them or things like labor cost is cheaper than most other European luxury brands, for example.
Scott, I want to mention, because I've had a chance to talk to mechanics around the country, and let's what the heck, let's start with the 9.5. The 9.5 is the latest edition before Saab stopped producing cars. It's their bigger luxury sedan. And many, many people have said, most mechanics who service Audi and Mercedes say that this car, value-wise, performance-wise, is in fact the best value out there. The feel is incredible. It's there's nothing like if you're looking at a long-distance luxury car with that European feel, with weight and beautiful feel and comfort of seats, boy, the 9.5. I mean, you could buy a 9.5 on Saabnet, let's say between 3,000 and, depending on what the last year, I think 2012, maybe 2011. Walter's going to know this in a second. And you could get a car that it's not just a head turner. I think the other thing about me is I think the aesthetics on the Saab are off the charts. I love the aesthetics. To me, they're timeless, wondrous aesthetics. And part of the purpose of the series is to talk about the high performing things that are available now. Some of the unique experiences since, like Walter's worked on these cars since they were made. And I think 99 was the first, I'm going on a stick here with the years. I think the first Saab 9.5 was it 99, Walter?
98.
Dang, I was close though. All right, I get 80 points for that. I was just so excited about that Saab, they had another amazing car called the 9000. So I had 3 of those. And so in the Saab community, I'll tell you guys a little thing here that you might appreciate. I was going to see the Saab mechanic in New York and always calling Walter to get feedback. But I would go to this one guy who's been working on Saab, I think, 45 years. And I would keep meeting people with the 9000 Arrow. And, they invested in this car, I don't know, maybe $4,000 or $6,000, and they would come there. And a lot of these cars at the performance level could outrun a BMW, and they were so excited about the access to these cars, which have such quality. So I guess I want to give a plug that when you drive this car, and Scott said it well, the labor and the investment, the value is so there. So let's do this. Let's start at the 9.5. It's the latest evolution of this one series. But I think the 9000 lasted how many years? Was it 10? How many years do you have the 9000?
So which car are you going to?
I want to get into the 9.5, but the 9.5 was the year after. Let's see, the 9000.
Yes, the 9.5 is the next generation for the 9000. So 9000 starts on the year 85.
Okay.
From there, the first years being with the normal engine for the 2-liter engine for the regular classic 900. And that was built on a platform from the Alfa Romeo and Fiat Lancia.
The 9000.
The 9000.
That's amazing.
That kind of car is a very smart car. Actually, on the year, I remember back on the year 82, 83, Saab was making the Prometheus project, something about to use a car without the steering wheel, assist by satellite to parking, to find that kind of things in Europe. And they do not go forward on that, but the car that they made for that kind of thing was a 9000 in the place where you have the center vent for the air. That's where they have the joystick or the big handle, like an airplane, pull, push left and right, only one side. And the steering wheel, well, there's no steering wheel in front of you, the driver. That's the kind of car that is also at the museum on Saab in Sweden. And can I tell you about the kind of things, how to keep a 9000 alive?
Yeah, I'm glad we're going to the 9000. It's one of my favorite of cars. And I was just looking on Saabnet. You could get a mint 9000 for, God, it's probably $4,000, $5,000. And it's one of the best cars I think was ever made. So yeah, I'd love you to talk about the 9000.
Okay, so people who own a 9000, I don't know if they can record this or to take some notes. Basic things on those cars, starting from the back to the front, is about the trailing arm bolts, where you have the 4 little bolts, 10 millimeter head that goes on the upper part of the rear axle. That kind of thing tend to break part of the chassis. Another problem that you have on that, you know, that kind of things. The another stuff on those cars is about the rear shock towers. You have a small little crack. So if the car starts having some kind of noise, like a crack, crack, like that, just fall down the rear seat, remove the posterior and the trunk close to the speakers. And if you have some little cracks over there, well, just repair that kind of thing. Repair before to be a big, big problem on that. Going down to the front, try to replace the gasoline filter often, because that kind of thing makes, you know, the gas filter is the kidney of the car. So that kind of thing is about when the tank is getting older, that kind of thing, so the pump starts disintegrating a little bit, making noises. There are more possibilities to have metal on the pump, on the fuel filter. So replace the fuel filter. Going back to the front, those are the condition for the mounts. Normally, people who own that kind of cars and they abuse a little bit, even the brand new mounts, especially the aftermarkets, do not last too much. Very easy, cheap trick to do is on the top part where the mount, it has a little tab. Just get a regular muffler hanger with a couple of plastic ties in between the upper part of the physical mount and the moving. So you put that kind of thing as a wedge, as a sandwich, and the new mounts or all mounts last forever. That's one of the things about the kind of cars, and do not increase the vibration problem. That kind of cars, 9000s, that engine is an excellent engine. The problem is about the balance shaft chain. I know at this point there are typical sub owners, and they want to keep using all the functions for the very nice and smooth idle and things like that. In my point of view, you have 2 extra kilos rotating with the engine. So what I do is just whenever we need to remove the oil pan, we just disable the balance shaft chain, pull it from the bottom, leave everything. We do not touch nothing else on there, neither the timing cover. Replace the connecting rod bearings, clean the pickup strainer, little O-rings underneath, and you have a bulletproof engine. Because we just disabled that. At that point, it's like your appendix. You do not need a transplant of appendix. You just need to remove it. Because you want a very reliable car, spending the less as possible. Remember.
How would you describe, and Scott, I don't know if you've had I don't think you've, I was going to ask Scott too. I want to get your feedback, what's speaking to you. But how would you describe the ride of the 9000? To me, was a great ride. It was a great feeling engine. One of my dreams, I had an Arrow, and unfortunately the slug took that. The mechanic actually said to me before I picked it up, he saw some sludge. He didn't do anything about it. I drove 50 miles away and the car seized. The ride, which I want to get into with you a little bit too, on how to take care of sludge. But the ride on the 9000, what a fabulous ride. How would you describe it from your experience? How does a 9000 drive that I think just makes it one of the most unique, great driving cars, safest car probably. These cars are so safe and so genius in their build. How would you describe the 9000 as a car to drive and own? What would you want to say about it?
For me, Glenn, or for?
Yeah, why don't you jump in, Scott? Yeah.
Well, I haven't. I've owned Saabs since 1988, and my wife's been driving them since she was 16 years old. But we haven't ourselves owned a 9000. Although I did do a very fun. I went to the 1999 Saab Owners Convention in Keystone, Colorado, and with a bunch of us drove out from California together. Don Young and David Young, David was driving his 9000, and we did the rally, the road rally that they put on for the convention, and we were in the novice class since we were both beginners at the rally. Now his 9000 was I found it to be, I was a navigator, but it was a very powerful car. We got a little off track a bit, and he had to speed up and get us back on track. And that car, I'm not sure, maybe Walter can say something about this, but I think it has the APC system,
yes.
And it gave the car quite a bit of power. It's one of the most powerful Saabs I've ever been in, and the ride was incredibly smooth. I was really impressed with the 9000. I wish I just don't have enough space to own enough Saabs. I would love to have owned that Saab because it was a very fun car to ride in and seemed like a very fun car to drive.
You know, one of the things during this time, BMW, or I guess it was Saab, they ran this ad, and it showed two trailers or two cranes. One was a BMW hanging off a crane, and then a Saab kind of like roof down, and they dropped them, and the BMW crushed. It would have killed the driver. The roof collapsed. Then the Saab hit, and it bounced off the roof. So I guess one of the continuums of these cars is, God, they're so safe and they're so unique and wonderfully driving. So the 9000, Walter, for people who hear this, the 9000 is probably one of the most valuable cars. It's a little retro, but God, to be able to invest in one of those cars that's rust-free and that's been well-maintained, what would be your general comment and feeling? I think this is a car that you said to me, Walter, if you could build a platform now, you would manufacture these and be incredibly happy. You love the 9000.
I do. I really love 9000s. One of the things, sadly, is because the car is not commercial. So the good point that we have here is there are some kind of 9000s at low price online, subnet. And if we are not too picky and we want to have fun, we want to have the pleasure to drive something normal without all the kind of things that should be working on that car, you're going to be very happy with the 9000. It means going back, it's not expensive to keep that car running good with the normal kind of things. What it means, heat seaters, I just put aside, climate control units, I roll down my windows, things like that. But if you want the pure pleasure to enjoy the driving on that kind of thing, that's excellent. Excellent pickup, excellent on everything. Now, what's the kind of things about the 9000s, as you said about the APC? The engine is governed by the computer, and the computer controls the engine to the peak performance according to the fuel, knowing the knocking. So if the engine has low-grade gasoline, it starts pinging, the computer sends that, load the boost of the turbo, retard the timing a little bit, and you have a limited power. But in the same kind of car, if you use high-quality gas without any kind of modification, without opening the hood, and just some kind of thick oil on that, the the computer is going to set more advanced on the system, and you are going to have a very quick rocket going anywhere you want. On the safe part, because the engine is taken care by the other part. So unleash the power of that. It means high quality oil, keep the car cooler. So it means running the fan more time, and to have the high quality gas. Basic rules that we apply in our life as well. Look, if you're going to have a healthy food and everything, that you're going to perform better. That's a basic kind of things. It's nothing about so critical on those cars. So what do you need to do? If you have noises close to the timing chain, close to the belt, use a normal basic $20 stethoscope from Pep Boys or place like that. Check and tell your mechanic, okay, yes, they say, be sure the noise is coming from the balance shaft chain or from the timing chain, the upper guide. Start fixing that kind of thing. It's inexpensive. And you are going to have less noises on your engine, less knocking, less vibration, and the engine is going to perform better.
So you would say, I think you would say this, I think, Scott, you would agree, that the 9000 today is probably one of the best investments. And what I say to parents who put their kids in I don't know, some of the Japanese cars, I still feel to this day, based on a lot of amazing stories. I met parents, their kid hit a telephone pole at 45 miles an hour, they walked out. I've heard of stories of these cars rolling off bridges. I mean, wild stories where the kids get out. So investment-wise, value-wise, not hype-wise, value-wise, the 9000, that's in good shape. What a fabulous starter car. What a fabulous weekend car. Just what a fabulous, again, value. The value is so there. And by the way, what I found surprising, Scott, you made a really good point about cars, and we got to invest in cars. When I used to go to Saab mechanics that also worked on BMWs, the BMWs be sitting there, and there was an investment of like $20,000, and they had the same problem, let's say, with an oil leak. And I was surprised. It's that these cars, a European car, it's not just it's a different mentality, but I realized that comparatively, Saab is not an expensive car. It's a misnomer. So I agree that, that once you have a Saab and you find someone like Walter, it's a whole different experience. The thing that I've heard, I want to get both your comments, Scott, and Walter's, is the mechanics that just work on domestic cars. It's interesting. They don't like Saabs. They put up with them, but they don't know them. When you listen to Walter, he knows how to get into the nooks and crannies. I thought to myself today, Scott, I could tell someone with peace of mind, tow your car to Walter's. I don't care where you live in the country. Invest, send it to Walter long distance. You wouldn't lose money, because this is a guy, he knows this car so well. Because if you get the wrong solution, not the right solution, it starts to set you up for losing money in the Saab. And that's not the Saab, that's not the car's fault. The mechanic doesn't know the car. I'd like to get your comments, Scott.
I agree. Yeah, it's very important to take your Saab to a knowledgeable Saab mechanic. Like Walter, as you can tell from what Walter is saying, Saab master technicians who have this kind of experience know what to focus on, what's important to keep your eye on, and what's important to do earlier. What are the things that can wait, and how do you keep your Saab roadworthy and safe going forward? And I agree with your comment about safety, which is one of the probably the prime feature of Saabs is their safety. They've always built those cars with safety in mind, with sacrificing the car in order to keep the driver and the passenger safe. And just one thing I'll mention is that on Saabnet.com there is a Saab mechanics and service section of the site where you can look up Saab service, Saab mechanics in different states. And there's also a Saab Saves Lives section where, unfortunately, driving there is a risk involved with driving and people getting in car accidents, but Saabs do their best to keep you safe, even in an accident.
So we're talking about the Saab 9000, which is, I just think it's a dignified, incredible. As a matter of fact, if I was on Saabnet, and I encourage you guys, go to Saabnet. What I love there, a lot of the owners, the original owners, are on Saabnet. And I find it's one of the few places that I can have. I mean, I've met friends all around the country. I've referred them to mechanics all around the country. So why am I so interested? There's something to this day of value and amazing quality that is still, I don't know, it's still, I can just see it. It's still, once you learn about value, it changes everything. You know, I'm known as the man who gets paid to go on vacation. And when I show up at a Saab, everybody's just curious, like, why do you keep on Saab? And I say to them, because I haven't found another car, although I think we're going to probably endorse Volvo soon as our, if you want a new car, we're probably going to endorse Volvo, because I love the Swedish mentality. But since we're talking about 9000s, I would just say, God, if you could find a rust-free, well-maintained, original owner 9000, or you want to invest in a car that's reliable, Walter, how would you want to leave people today? Your final thoughts on the 9000. And all right, first of all, I love this discussion. I want to thank all you guys, all you wonderful people who are interested in Saab. And I want to acknowledge there might be a part of the audience, you're totally new to Saab, and you've heard all these things about Saab. They're expensive, they you know, they're hard to fix. I want to say from my experience that these cars can last 100,000 miles. And as we conclude today's conversation with Scott Patterson from Saabnet and Walter Wong from The Right Solution, that's such a, by the end of the show, we're going to leave you with something that I think is going to be such a contribution to you. Let's conclude about the 9000s. So the 9000 is this remarkable run of cars that I guess lasted, God, but a long time, like 10, 15 years, God, I'm going to defer to Walter again. How long did the 9000, how long did they make that car for, Walter?
85, 86, up to 90, 98.
Okay. So this is a car that, well, obviously, Walter, you've seen a lot of this car. So this car carries the highest recommendation. And something you just said to me was so striking, because part of the conversation people have is it's very, very expensive. But you said something that you don't keep the car by factory specifications. You work on the car to keep them alive. That's such an interesting distinction, because I just was saying to you, I just unfortunately left this phone in my room here, in my production hall. So you were saying to me that your main interest is to keep this car alive and running well without having to spend excess or money that doesn't need to be invested in. Let's apply that to the 9000. How does that apply to the 9000, where a lot of people might give it up because they, I can't afford that, but you have a philosophy that you want to keep the car running and the person happy. And you gave me an example of the person who delivers the Los Angeles Times. Your comments on keeping the car healthy without running to the bank every day.
Yes, what happened is, at The Right Solution, normally we work with the plan B. What it means? Plan A, I'm going to present, or we present the information about your car. Okay, you will need brakes, this and this and this and that. And in the worst case scenario, well, in the worst case scenario,
technological, it's fine. That ringing will go away. Keep talking.
That's very realistic. Sounds like an
it's very real. This is like a crime mystery show. The criminal's right on the scene here.
So what happened is, in the way how do we treat the car over there, you have the first estimate about the usual kind of brake pads, brake rotors, if the caliper guide is worn out and that kind of thing. But it makes easily about $1,500 repair on the brakes on a $2,000 car. Let's be realistic. So if it's my own car, if the brake rotors are still on legal specifications, it means are still thick, not very, very thin. What I will do in order to keep that car running. So the way how do we use is, if this is my daughter's car, and I'm going to send her to New York, and I am in a normal tight budget, I do not want to start wasting money. And the most important, I am going to pay for the bill. What kind of things this car require? And that's the plan B. It means high quality ceramic brake pads. It means to clean all the kind of sliding parts. And I'm going to tell my customer, you know what, sir, for about $600, you are going to have your car front and rear brake pads. Everything is going to be double checked. The brake fluid is going to be replaced with type 4. And you have a 2 years warranty on the work. I cannot guarantee it's going to be quiet or vibration free because that situation is from the brake rotor. Now, the point is you can make a cross country with that car without any kind of problem. That's the kind of thing. That's the way how we treat the cars at Right Solution. I know it's not the most professional way because according to the dealership, according to the real standards, it means to replace bolts and nuts as well. Our goal is we work with passion. We keep the cars running fine, running good, and the driver knows the limits. The driver knows about what are we doing. Otherwise, if I present and force that estimate like no alternative, that car will go to the junkyard and the driver will lease a new Kia. And what's going to happen for the Saab community?
I wanted to say that was such a brilliant distinction. So what you just said, it opens up a new world, and it opens up being able to keep your car. So this solves a huge mystery, and the huge mystery, and Scott, I want to get your comment. And you're listening to the Saab and Travel Show. I'm Glenn Brooks. We've been doing this 20 years. So what Walter just said is so impactful because so many people go to the Saab person and they get that information. It's you have a $2,500 car, your brakes is going to be $2,000, and they'll say, "What can I do? I got to get rid of this car." The people will say it like this: "I love this car, but I can't own it anymore because of the cost." That's how they'll say it in an ad. What you just said was it's going to be safe and being able to perform because it has the right solution, but it's not the factory standard, but it's safe and it'll perform well, and it's about half the price.
And that's the kind of way how we treat our own cars. So once more, it's not the best professional technical way to go. Since we know that it's possible to do that kind of thing, that's basically the kind of brake job that you can have at some of police cruisers, some taxis, and none of them are losing the brakes. So there is a kind of thing that we're not going to push our luck too much.
Which is the main point. I just want to say that's the main point here is that even though it doesn't meet the standard, it reminds me once, this is an old story, but before I got into my Saabs, I worked with an old Volvo mechanic because the first car I stepped in was a Volvo. And my Volvo guy used to always, he fixed this car for like nothing. And I used to show him the bills and the estimates from other mechanics, and he would bend over and laugh very hard. And he says, "Glenn," he goes, "you paid $3,000 and they want to charge you $2,700 for all this work. Does that make any sense to you?" I said, "No." And he says, "Because the standard is ridiculous." He goes, "When you leave my garage, like people leave your garage, the car's safe and sound and it performs. And they have a car that's reliable. Isn't that the bottom line anyway?"
Well, one of the things that happen is the conception that dealerships, the places like that, are going to start taking your money away.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
The real thing is this. If I take, for example, my phone, in this case to Samsung, it's a 3-year-old phone. I said, okay, I want everything this to be fine. They're going to repair my phone. They're going to charge me maybe $700 on a $300 phone.
Yes.
They do not care who's going to pay for the bill because if I take it to the service place, they have to do it according to the specifications.
Yes.
In our case, it's going to be similar to when you have a cracked part on the front. Just take it to any kind of guy for $50. You have a new part of the glass or something like that, and you have your whole phone working.
Hey, Glenn, I have a question for Walter. Sometimes I find that there's a perception that Saab parts are difficult to source. And Walter, I think, can you tell us about that? How hard are Saab parts to get?
Are you talking about the original parts or parts that make the car running?
I'm actually talking about, Saab parts, for the car. Yeah, original parts. Do you have any, even for the 9000 or, and going forward, what do you think about availability for Saab parts?
There are a lot of parts for Saabs, and there are about 2 or 3 big makers on that, and those are the providers for the parts for the factory parts. Just the only thing that is the mechanic need to use the common sense to use the part that really is going to work, because there are too many looks alike. And you know that kind of thing, what happened when people, they said, oh, why you are going to charge me, for example, $80 for a set of brake pads if I can have something that they said lifetime warranty brake job for $100. And do you know what I noticed on those brakes?
What?
The brake pad is so stiff, the brake pad, that the system keeps eating the rotors. So when the customer goes back to the place, hey, my brakes are shaking or this or that, they say, yes, your brakes, the brake pad, is still new and your rotor is wearing out. So they charge the people for the brake rotor and they keep the same pad. And that's the kind of thing of lifetime warranty of brakes on that.
It's really a lifetime trick, isn't it? It's a trick.
The best way to do is to use common sense on that.
Right.
If you are going to start using, for example, in the example that I told you about, instead to do brake pads, brake rotors, and that kind of thing, use higher quality ceramic brake pads, use high quality brake fluid. It's the same price. The labor is going to be the same, and you're going to have a better result on the street and keep the money in your pocket. That's the most important point. It's about the money.
I just want to summarize here because it's so brilliant. So what Walter just said is another significant distinction, another significant wisdom point, is that up front, it looks like you're saving money at a local franchise that says, come get our brakes, it's $199, all-inclusive lifetime warranty. What they don't tell you is, if it's damaging the rotor, the more expensive relevant part, they're setting you up for basically spending a lot more money on a part that's being destroyed, destroyed by less expensive, less value. So as Walter's talking, we got this notion that factory standards for an older car aren't as relevant as safety and performance standards, and that you could spend less but get more value. So this is a big deal. This is why a lot of you are selling your car prematurely, because someone's telling you that they're telling you something that's not really true. It's half the truth. So, and I know you guys are all smart. We're supposed to be the smartest people in the world, Walter and Scott. We're supposed to be very smart as Saab drivers. So we got a question here. I want to say this is part 1 of a 6-part series. I want you guys, before Scott drops up, to send your questions. And if you want to be on the next call, you want to be on the next Zoom call, we're going to invite you on it. We're going to invite a limited number of people to interact with Walter from the LA area, from anywhere in the country. We'll have you on right with us to ask your questions. And again, I'm Glenn Mix, the man who gets paid to go on vacation. I've driven Saabs the last 25 years. I love this car. Upcoming, and I'll have Walter on and Scott. I'm going to do a series. I'm going to get a car that's been in a car crash. It's a 2005 9.3. We're going to build a little team of people. I'm going to, like Humpty Dumpty, I'm going to bring this car back, and we'll get Walter's comments. Now, if you have a 9000 and you're really intrigued by what Walter said, and you're like in this place where you're not sure if you're going to be able to keep the car, I want to hear your questions. If you have a 9000 and you're like, what do I do in this dilemma? A lot of you are on the teeter-totter. You're not sure if you should get rid of the car. I want you to call in, because I've had people on the phone with Walter, and he saved the car right over the phone with them. So, Walter, I love this series. I appreciate that I was able to find the Jedi Master Mechanic of the universe, and that you live in LA, and that you got all this common great. I wrote the philosophy of your business is passion, service, keeping the car alive 300,000 miles. Does that summarize your philosophy?
Yep, that's correct.
Let's go to Scott. And you guys are great. I'm going to give you a personal phone number. If you want to be an underwriter, we got some people coming on this series from around the country that actually have referred to Walter. We're going to have them on. You're able to meet them. And they're going to come on the show, and I'll have them say hello to Walter, because they refer people to Walter from around the country. So I'm Glenn Brooks. I am the producer and host of the Saab and Travel Show. I'm the man who gets paid to go on vacation. I love going with my Saab. Volvo's still to come. 413-586-5898, 413-586-5898. You can find the recordings on Saabnet, the site that I refer everybody to. And I've seen Walter's ad on Saabnet. Walter, you are Saabnet to me. Every time I see when I go to Saabnet, the right solution is always there. And yesterday, your explanation of light solution, God, it was like the lights lit up. The right solution is to keep your car safe and performing, to not waste money on that car, to do intelligent solutions, right solutions that are perfect for your car so it keeps running so you don't have to lose the car. It's so environmental, actually. I'd like to get your concluding thoughts. Walter, what would you want to leave the audience with?
There's one thing that I want to offer, please. People, they can call me at any time. I receive many calls from Europe. It's completely different time. And it's no problem for me to wake up at night. And the only thing that I ask is to have pen and paper and try to deal with my accent. So they are going to pay more attention because it's English with accent. And then it starts, and then I can try to help on that because I know cars from the Middle East market that was in Latin America, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, Brazil. They use that kind of car from the Mid East. Then the American market here, and with being in Sweden at factory, as well I have some kind of notice about what kind of parts fits from one market to another because that's different on some kind of things. So I invite to everybody who has a question related about cars, about Saabs, just call me.
Give your number out. Give your number out twice, Walt. Give out your phone number.
310-666-2406.
One more time.
310-666-2406.
And your website. And
the website is saabtech.net.
Saabtech.net, and you'll be able to talk to the Jedi himself. Now, Walter, I think to be fair to the audience and you, that you don't want to accept marital proposals. You're just dealing with Saab questions, right?
Well, yes, that kind of thing. Because I have enough problems with the marriage, you can see about the color of the hair.
Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Scott,
thank you.
Oh, you're great. So, in concluding this episode, again, we got 5 more shows. I'm inviting people to come on, and I'm going to be inviting people from around the country who know Walter. I want to broaden this conversation. And if you're stuck with a car dilemma, a Saab dilemma, I want you to email Scott, and you can come on the next show. If you just want to ask a question, or if you want to call Walter, I want you to be in touch with Scott around that. Scott, is it okay if they email you if they want to be on the next our next video call and they have a question, or someone has a dilemma with the Saab? I want to get them on. So would you give me your email address, and once again remind them you're with Saabnet. And Walter, this conversation has been great. I want to tell you, I learned today that factory standards don't have to keep you depressed and feeling, oh my God, I've lost my Saab. That you could have quality and safe and a car that runs without having to spend a ridiculous amount of money, and to not be tricked by the idea that you could get a break time or this lifetime thing, but it's not accurate. It's not true. I also learned that these cars are an investment that go up to 300,000 miles, and that why not keep them? Why not let this incredible car keep running? It's sad to me when I hear these cars are junk, and they're junk because of misinformation, not wisdom. So let's go back to you, Scott. I'll let you conclude by giving your email address. And again, if you guys want to be in touch as an underwriter, or you have something you want to share with me, is the only car show in the world on Saab in travel. Glenn Brooks, 413-586-5898. I'm an old-fashioned. I love phone too. 413-586-5898. And I want to say that Walter has always returned my call within 12 hours for 15 years. He's incredibly generous. His business philosophy and the results he produces are off the charts. He's got from 1 to 5, he gets a 10. Well, Walter, you're a 10.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, Scott, go ahead and conclude this with how they could contact you if they want to be on the video call, if they have questions. And by the way, Scott, I want to say that being friends with you the last 20 years and doing this has been great. So thank you for Saabnet.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Glenn, and thank you, Walter. It's great to see you. My email address at saabnet.com is at saabnet.com. You can also come to the site. The site has had 500,000 Saabers visit over the past year. We have a general bulletin board if you want to hang out with other Saab people. They're friendly and they're fun. If you want to look up information about your car or try to see if somebody has had the same problem you have and find the solution that they found, you can go to the model that you have for the bulletin board of the model you have, and you can post. There's no site registration required to participate.
Say the email address one more time, please.
It's Saab, S-A-A-B, at saabnet.com, saabnet.com.
You guys are going to learn so much. I want to leave you one question. What did you learn from Walter today? I feel like I learned so much. What did you learn today, Scott? What hit you?
Well, I learned that the big thing that I'm taking away from this is how important it is to take your car to a knowledgeable Saab technician, because not only do they know when to use the right kind of part, they also know exactly what's a priority to fix, what things can wait, where you need to be looking to avoid having a problem with your car. It's just best to go ahead and take it to a proper Saab mechanic.
And what I learned, and I'm so grateful about, is that I found the master Saab Jedi. He lives in LA. His service philosophy off the charts. How many I've never met a mechanic that said you could call me 3 in the morning. You could call me from Europe. I haven't met a mechanic that will spend 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes and be so precise. Walter's generosity and his passion, which he says he won't hire someone unless they have passion, radiates. You could feel the sun on your face. You could feel Walter's passion and integrity. I want to thank everybody for listening today. I want you to go to Saabnet and listen to the series. I want to get you guys on, and what can I say? I mean, the only thing I can say is I totally love Saab, and I deep appreciation from all of you. You can email me at Glenn, Glenn, .vibrantliving@gmail.com. That's Glenn, Glenn, .vibrantliving, all one word, @gmail.com. So we'll see you for our next episode. Thank you deeply, Scott. Thank you, Walter. The right solution. Boy, I really got that. Like, I get it. The right solution. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode of the Saab and Travel Show. Your life's precious. Enjoy it.
Thank you so much, Glenn.
You're very welcome. And thank your whole family. Thanks, Guillermo. And we've only just begun. Thank you, Walter.
Thank you.
Thanks, Walter. Thanks, Glenn.
You're welcome.